Hello everyone, welcome back to Eldritch Castle. Okay, are you ready for this? You've had a week to decide what to do about this shadow monster in the dim corridor. Well, this is a dangerous situation. Let's hope that you made a wise decision. A couple of announcements here at the beginning that I'd like to just give you real fast. First of all, I've finally got the overview castle map going for Eldritch Castle, so you're going to see that at the beginning of the episode and at the end. I also want to encourage you once again to please share Eldritch Castle. That way we can get more support, more views, more momentum, and it gives me a lot more motivation and encouragement to keep doing content like this, which I really do love. In other news, it is actually the first anniversary of the release of my book, Esper's Emporium of Esoterica. It's a 5e book with tons of content. This thing is just huge. It has player and game master content in here. There's a character class, there are subclasses, feats, warlock invocations, spells, traps, a whole bunch of GM stuff. There's a huge bestiary full of monsters and NPCs. It's just a really massive tome that's overflowing with ideas. And to help commemorate the first anniversary, I've actually lowered the price of the PDF. So go check that out on my website, esperthebard.com, or follow the link down in the dungeon of the video. And you can get the PDF or you can get the hardcover. I've still got physical copies for sale as well. And you're going to find a ton of stuff in here. In addition, speaking of the Emporium, I've just released an errata document that has a bunch of updates and clarifications to stuff in the book. You can also find that on my website under the free content section. So if you already have the Emporium, go get that because that will help clear up a few things and smooth out a few things that needed some attention. All right, I'd say that's about it. So let's go ahead and jump in, and best of luck to you. You're really going to need it. Your heart leaps in your chest as the shadowy stalker glides up to you through the dark of the corridor. Almost out of reflex, you draw your wand and wave it over yourself while chanting a phrase of warding. The spell Protection from Evil and Good, awkwardly named though it is, serves as a supernatural defense against certain kinds of creatures, including undead, which you believe the shadow to be. You flee from the creature, hoping to lead it out into the Great Hall. As you go, the thing swipes opportunistically at your back. Despite the protection of your spell, the shadow still manages to strike you. The icy touch of death spreads through your body, draining and weakening you. Nearly stumbling, you stagger into the Great Hall and shout to Vlorgenthrix that there is a wicked stalker in the corridor. You distance yourself from the corridor opening and look back. The shadow thing does not enter the Great Hall. You take a moment to consider what exactly this foe might be. Indeed, this is an undead creature. An animate shadow that represents all the darkest, repressed urges of the mind. Like many varieties of undead, it seeks to consume life from living victims. Being that it is a lesser kind of undead, the energy drain it just struck you with is temporary, and you will recover naturally with rest. Due to its shadow composition, most attacks, whether from weapons or magical blasts, are less effective against this evil thing. Vlorgenthrix's disintegration should work quite well against it, and sources of radiant damage or even sunlight are incredibly effective against it. It is highly stealthy while in dim light or darkness, and it can slip through tiny cracks and openings if it needs to. You ask Vlorgenthrix if he knows anything about the shadow thing lurking in the corridor.
A year ago, one such shadow slipped into the castle from the Duskwood. Master defeated it soundly, but not before it had slain one of the servants, the cook. I recall Zdravno procuring some holy water to keep on hand, should such a thing infiltrate this place again. You should be able to locate some nearby.
The shadow once killed a cook, and Zdravno wanted to keep some holy water close at hand. You open the door to the kitchen. Once more, the stink hits you. What a putrid smell. The first thing you do is chant your cantrip, Prestidigitation, over the rancid meat. Your magic calms down the stench and puts a perfume-like aroma into the air. With a heaviness about you due to the life drain, you look about the kitchen. There are a great amount of implements and foodstuffs here. In the cupboard, below an animal skull, are a number of jars, bottles, and vials. Looking them over, you do in fact find 2 little glass vials of holy water. You note that other than the rancid meat and other spoiled wares, there are a number of foods that are still in fine condition. It must be near or even just past midday, and you are a bit hungry. You might have to come back here to eat before too long. Along with food stores are salt, spices, oils, clean water, and a bit of wine. The amount of cookware, dishes, and storage containers is also noteworthy. Cautiously, you proceed back through the Great Hall. You stand opposite the corridor opening, 60 feet away, with the large space of this feast room allowing you to keep such a far distance. In one hand, you hold your wand. In the other, a vial of holy water. You squint, focusing onto the dim corridor. You cannot make out any sign of the stalker. Still concentrating on protection from evil and good, you proceed forward. Your weakened limbs protest, and fear licks at your heart, but you see no other way to move on, as the 2 doors in the entry chamber are locked, and the door to the throne room is either barred or blocked from the other side. You move up to the entryway. When nothing appears, you unstopper the vial and prepare to fling the holy water at any moment. Then you move in. The gloom of the corridor is pervasive. The flames from the sconces here give off a weaker amount of light. Where is that damned thing hiding? As you near the bend in the hallway, the shade lashes out. Again, your trained alertness mitigates the foe's ambush. The shadow's hand swipes at you, but your spell's protective ward deflects the attack. Flinging the holy water will be awkward while trying to avoid the enemy right next to you. You call upon your diviner's foretelling to guide you. The holy water flies through the air. A fair amount of it splashes against the wall, and the vial breaks against the masonry, but some of it strikes the shadow. The blessed droplets flare in momentary golden light upon the flowing form of the undead killer. You fear for your life, and again retreat from the corridor. This time, you take measures to move tactically and carefully. Into the Great Hall you step. The shadow goes to pursue you, then stops, and returns to behind the bend in the corridor. The murky, low light of the corridor is serving too much in the favor of the shadow. You ponder what you could do to increase the light. With a wave of your wand, you send out a cluster of scintillating moths that shed sparks as they go. The fireworks display glimmers through part of the corridor, then snuffs out. It did cast back the shadows, but for no more than an instant. You then focus the magic onto one of the ever-burning sconces. The glittering moths hover around the sconce, giving off a warmer, brighter field of illumination. This should hold for several minutes. You produce the second vial of holy water, prepare to toss the liquid, and head back in for a third go. You peer around the bend and find a well-lit yet empty corner. The bright light must have warded off the shadow thing. You take a moment to look farther down the corridor. There is no sign of the shadow, at least not as far as you can tell. You do make out the end of the corridor, though. There is an open archway leading to the west and a shut door to the east. "Are you there?" You call down the corridor. "Who are you?" If the thing is there, it does not reply. Then again, such a creature typically does not have the ability to speak. A moment later, you break the silence by sending a ray of frost from the tip of your wand. You attack, into the gloom, at the foe you cannot see. You send the icy spell ray at a point you guess might harbor the shadow, but there is no sign that you struck the creature. Again you cast, and again, sending frost streaking through the corridor. The haphazard spell attacks do not seem a smart way to go about this. With you sending out the rays while standing within an area of bright light, the shadow does not approach. Part of you wants to hope that you have driven it off, but another part of you worries that if you do not neutralize it, it will haunt your every move and ambush you as soon as it has the opportunity. Ah yes, you call to mind the fact that you can have up to 3 simultaneous effects from your prestidigitation. You focus onto the final ever-burning sconce in the corridor. It too becomes surrounded by fluttering moths that put off sparks. Its illumination increases to brighten the final section of the corridor. There is the shadow. You spot it plainly. You take a few strides backward as the thing rushes toward you. With no more gloom in which to hide, the shadow springs ahead, gliding quicker than you can run. By the time you have the holy water ready to splash, the fingers of darkness are reaching for you. Your liquid attack only manages to strike the shadow with a couple drops. They glint as they pass into the dark form. The shape is desperate to drain the life from you. You evade its attack and aim a ray of frost at it. Again, awkwardly so with the foe engaged with you at such a close range. The icy cantrip strikes the shadow thing straight on, but does not damage it as it would a typical flesh and blood creature. The shadow continues to flail at you, and your protection from good and evil wards away its deathly hands. You chant the frost spell again, with icy coldness passing from your lips as you utter the short phrase. The creature knocks your wand aside, and the ray just barely misses it. You don't know how much longer you'll be able to keep up this battle. You've struck it 3 times, though 2 were minor hits of a few holy droplets, and 1 was the magic cold that it resisted. You could use magic missile, which you are confident would function at full effectiveness. The shadow swipes at you, grazing you. It's not enough to drain more of your energy, but you feel the horrid sensation of death brushing against you. It's enough for you to take decisive action. You cannot risk anything more. With a forceful declaration, you thrust forward your hand, held in a cryptic gesture. 3 daggers of spectral arcane energy stab into the shadow. The undead melts away, like night, vanquished by dawn. You trudge back to the Great Hall and announce to Vlorganthrix that you have defeated the shadow.
The apprentice is victorious. Clearly the instruction of the High Wizard has served you well.
You sit at a table and slump over, still with the power of the magic missile ringing upon the fingertips of your right hand, the coolness of the icy ray chilling your left hand, and swirling, dazzling moths dancing in your mind. Fatigue from the ordeal gnaws at your body, inside and out. Lucia nudges against your leg, as though to make sure you are still alive. You mumble something at her and wait for your strength to return. After an hour or so, you are feeling much better. You recite short, mantra-like arcane phrases and expend a few bits of reagents from your component pouch. This restores a portion of your metaphysical energy that you have spent through spellcasting. You head back in the direction of the corridor once more. "Are you coming with me?" you ask Lucia. Her ears perk up, she stretches out, yawns a big yawn, and comes trotting alongside you. The corridor, once again, is shrouded in dimness. You hesitate, paranoid that the shadow thing might have recovered somehow and be lying in wait for you. Lucia looks about, but nothing catches her attention. After no shadowy horrors come flying forth, you open the door to the west. The chamber you find is some kind of armory. There are a couple weapon racks, including a traditional one and a rather unorthodox one fashioned from a small, leafless, twisting tree. The ever-burning braziers here have purplish fire that bathe everything in fantastical light. There is a heavy iron panel set into an iron frame on the north wall. Nearby is an iron statue, like that of a knight in bulky plate armor, with its hands raised up, palms facing the ceiling. As you come near the armored statue, its left hand lowers, extending toward you. There is a keyhole built into its palm.